Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Keep on the Borderlands after the final roll. We've got Chris, Nate, Tim, Jeff, and John is joining us very shortly. But he's there. You can see his camera's there at least. How's it going, everybody? What a campaign we had. What a campaign, right?
What a campaign.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I know we were just all chatting before we came on, and there were so many moments, so many things, so many questions that we all had. So naturally, we're going to talk about none of it. We're going to talk about nonsense and then run out of time, and then we'll just sign off forever.
Such is the Keep on the Borderlands.
Perfect.
How do you make charcoal?
Let's talk about that for the next half hour. What do you say?
So let's argue about it with absolutely no research.
Could take longer than that.
Let's do it. Welcome to YouTube chat. It's been a wild ride. I think I posted on social media. I posted on the YouTube channel, community tab, that it was just a great finale, and it really was something that I'll always remember. I feel like this was such a crazy campaign. It definitely went in ways that I did not expect. I'm sure as a player, that's how it always is, right? I mean, I'm not sure saying I'm sure. I've been a player before, right? Like I've played campaigns. So it always goes differently than you expect. But, with this game, this really, I think, elevated from the original material. That's one of the things that we'll talk about today is the difference between the Keep on the Borderlands module and exactly what we played through. But I want to talk more about just like what I did. This is not going to be like a DM, reveals all sort of thing. I think some things I might not want to reveal. I mean, we left the ending kind of open to maybe come back to this at some point, which I would love to do. But yeah, I think we'll talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of different topics. But for you in the YouTube chat, there's going to be a section, one of the later sections of this. I'd love to get some Q&A going. I know that the players have some questions, so we'll get player Q&A. We'll have some thoughts from the chat. We'll get some questions answered from the chat. Just put them in there. Put them in the YouTube chat. I will try to do my best to go back and look through and see if we can find some good ones that I can answer or the players might answer. Doesn't have to be questions for me. It could be players for the characters and specific choices their characters made, the players made. So yeah, lots of stuff going on here tonight. But that's what this is going to be. It's going to be a reflection and an overall kind of send off to this campaign that we loved. And just to set everything mood right, I don't know if anybody catches this, but I feel like there's always a theme song to the adventures. In Rime of the Frost Maiden, it was Outpost 31. It was that like eerie, creepy, almost like Thing style music. For Wild in the Witchlight, it was one called like Fey Wild. It was one like that, and it fit the theme perfectly. And I don't know if anybody caught this, but we had a very standard theme song for ours. Do you recognize it? I'll play it right here. Ready? Yeah. Do you recognize this? This was the one I played for, I would say, 90% of our opens. When we're reviewing, it just was like in the background. It would play for like maybe the first half of an episode even, just because kind of get us into it, right? And then I'd switch it up depending on what you were doing. But this is called, from Tabletop Audio, links in the description, it is called The Oregon Trail.
Oh.
Man.
No, I never picked up on that.
And not a one of us died of dysentery.
When you play in the background, it sounds familiar, but I couldn't identify it.
Does getting bit by a medusa count as a snake bite? Because that was an Oregon Trail thing. I did die from a snake bite.
It counts.
I was on top of a river for a while.
Yeah.
You're right. You were.
So I'm going to put this one on the background. But if you've ever checked out Tabletop Audio, the links I always put in the description of all my videos. It's free to use. It's really fantastic for tabletop games. It's all done through web-based. It's a website. It's a web-based, not something you have to download or a program to pay for. It's really, really cool. You can throw money, donate, I think, and they have Patreon. So not a sponsored thing of the channel, just a really great resource for RPG groups. All right, so let's start with the ending. Seems fitting. What are your reactions to how this whole campaign ended. I mean, I was thrilled. I mean, it was kind of like, I thought, a great ending to this story. I felt like the characters all got their moments to shine. And where we left off exactly. What are your thoughts of this big finale that we had just a week ago?
I have once again proven that I have the worst judgment of characters because I was like Marivek. You were asking me like at lunch, like the day or two before, like we did the final campaign. You're like, what do you think of Marivek? I was like, trust him wholeheartedly. That guy's looking out for me. He sprung me out of jail. I have nothing but faith. And lo and behold, he was the one pulling the strings. So
did I say it?
Everyone else should run. That's what it comes down to.
How did I react? I remember that conversation pretty well, but I don't remember.
You were like, really? Interesting. And I was like, he sprung me out of jail. What do you want me to say? You help me out.
Did I say it like that? Like, really? Like, was I shocked?
Yeah, you were like a little bit surprised by it.
I tried to keep my poker face there, but we were eating. I don't even remember what it was that day, the lunch, but I just remember eating it, and I had to pause. I was like, interesting. I was about to take a forkful, and I was like, oh.
The Hermit of the Woods, Marivek. I don't know. I'm surprised I didn't buddy up with Xander at some point.
Well, yeah, Marivek seemed to be the one behind the strings here.
Well, and that was pretty clear early on, and then we got away from it.
Yeah.
Because there was a whole thing with the smuggling the weapons with the guy that Sasori killed, Levy Merrick.
Levy Merrick. Yeah, you're right. He
and he was in cahoots with Marivek. He was working for Marivek, and then when Xander was apparently in close with the Castellan, and Marivek came to us through Eric. We're like, well, I guess we'll trust him because we got no one else to trust.
Session 14. Marivek has us covered is a quote from Levy Merrick.
I remember that vividly.
I forgot that part.
Clearly.
Yeah, it was. He was the bad guy, and then he was convincing. It was a good bad guy. Like he sounded like a redeemed soul. Hook, line, and sinker.
Well, when it comes to Marivek, I wanted to play him in a way that would be, like the thing that happened with Levy Merrick. Like, yeah, does everybody could a person in a position of power want to like gain personally, like, you know, have this sort of like smuggling ring? Does that mean he's the master of all evil in the keep? No. Does that mean he's kind of playing all these people like puppets? No, not really. But he may not be the most trustworthy. But I think once he sprung you out of jail, like everybody kind of like, or at least it didn't get discussed. Tim and Nate, you were let out of jail, and it was kind of a general trust with him because he did something rather good for you. But I don't know, is that how you felt?
I think I suspected him and Ferric for most of the campaign, but yeah, once he let me out of jail, I was like, all right, I'm going to take Tim's word for it. I just found a question. Could Marivek actually be a good guy on the inside, and Ferric is actually evil? Question mark.
You thought that, or you wrote that down?
I wrote that down on session 15.
Wow.
Wow.
But that was, I think I suspected Ferric just as much as him, so I can't really take any credit.
Interesting. Yeah, let's talk about the Castellan for a second then. At the end there, she was, I hope that it came across that she was trying to do whatever the right choice was, but she didn't have enough information and couldn't really make the best decision. She was just kind of taking losses all over the place, right? The way that the people felt in the keep, she felt pressure. And so she went with Xander because she thought he was the way to stop whatever was going on. She went personally because she felt, really compelled to make sure that he was not BSing her. But she never really, I think, doubted the group. She just was under a lot of pressure from the other people in the keep, the other powers, that she has to be responsible to, because she's part of like the military, basically, of the world. And I think she generally showed you, not the world, the realm, but she generally showed you, I think, that she was a good-natured character, I would say.
It was hard. I mean, at the end, it was hard to believe that for a while. I think I was very annoyed by her ambiguity. for the longest time. Like I thought there was a good chance, especially when we saw her with Xander, that you know what, like this is a willful idiot, and we might need to kill her.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I hear you.
didn't think that.
What's that, Jeff?
Really?
I didn't ever. I mean, I did think that she was being played. I didn't think she was. I don't think I ever thought she was in on it. I thought she was being manipulated by somebody. Early on, I thought it was Marivek. You know, right at the beginning when we were having the dealings with Marivek, and then when the whole Marivek side plot or subplot, whatever, seemed to kind of dissipate. Because after we dealt with Levy, we didn't really interact with Marivek much at all for many episodes until he got you guys out of jail.
Took 10 episodes or so, yeah.
And so in that amount of time, I think in my mind, I just like, okay, well, you know, he's that's a side quest. That was, you know, his little pocket lining scam is not the big evil. It's got nothing to do with all of these chaos eruptions or whatever. And so my idea that he was like a Polonius figure or a Iago figure manipulating the Castellan kind of faded. I was never, to this moment, I'm still not entirely clear on how Xander got to be so credible in the Castellan's eyes.
Well, let's yeah, you know what? We talked about Marivek. We talked about the Castellan a little bit. Let's jump to everybody's favorite cleric of Maeve, Xander. Who was happy that Xander died at the end?
Oh, ecstatic.
Love it.
Does anybody just felt bad for the guy? Come on.
Nope.
No?
I mean, I guess if I had known about a possible way to break him away, like if I had known he was being controlled for longer and there was a possibility of breaking him away, I think that's the direction Barrick would try to go. But if it's I'm happy he's dead.
Chris, there was a moment in the caves right before the finale, and there was that big battle, right, that led before we got into the final episode of episode 51, I guess, where you were like at the end of the northern part of the corridor, like preventing him from getting by, and I think you waited, right? You didn't attack that one round.
Hyro?
Yeah, because you were the one more away from the group. You were kind of in the back.
What he had to say kind of made sense to Hyro. You know, like
Yeah.
Hyro wasn't looking at it in such a what's the word when you're extreme, like a zealot kind of way. He was looking at it as more of a neutral kind of way, as he tends to look at life, and it kind of sounded like it made some sense.
And it was a moment of exposition, right? You got some answers finally from him. I have to keep certain things a secret. Xander's not going to reveal everything till a certain time, or at least he trusted you. But I had planned for a lot of things to go differently. I mean, like I didn't know that Xander and you guys would like almost like break up immediately after that first outing. You definitely didn't like him, and he didn't like you. But I thought that maybe you'd use him a little longer. He'd be with the group. But when you got back to the keep, it was like everything you guys were saying were opposite of what he wanted. So he was just like, all right. He's like, you guys are idiots. He's like, I'm out of here. But I didn't intend on that to start. I wanted him to be with you longer, going to and from the cave and the keep. And
That's interesting. I thought Xander threw us out really quick.
Well, he did, but only because he wanted to like lead you guys around, and you weren't really happy about that. You weren't really willing to let him lead you around. So.
What group of adventurers is being led by some other Jamoke? Like what group is like, oh, let's follow? I mean, I guess there are
The group of us, we have way too many
Well,
loud voices in the room
for
already.
3 years. We did everything wrong.
It happens. It does. It does happen. But yeah, no, I thought he'd be with you a little longer. But it seemed pretty clear that you guys were willing to not willing to listen to him. So once
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't want another paladin trying to stink up the party. I didn't like his vibe.
Yeah.
But he had one paladin, and that was all it needed.
he got too much pleasure out of killing things.
That's true. He did.
That I think that really set us off. I mean, even I
Set you
mean,
off.
I will say, going back to what you're saying before, like in the second to last and the penultimate or whatever third to last episode, Karg was also like, I don't know, he's making some good points. Like he sounds like he's doing some good things.
Karg was arguably more evil than Xander. So
I don't think arguably. I think in the way.
Oh, I don't know.
100%.
I don't know about evil, but he was for sure chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a separate conversation we can have when we get to that point. Yeah, I have some thoughts for sure.
well, okay, Xander was obviously deluded. Okay, by to the point of the delusion was so profound and powerful that it almost feels like he had to be operating under some sort of a magically inflicted delusion.
Well, he had to be, yeah, when he
But
saw.
I still don't understand where that was coming from.
It was straight. He was cast under some spell. Like to think
By
that
whom?
that was made.
Or-
Nihilisa. Oh,
The reborn one.
Nihilisa?
Was it directly from Nihilisa? Was it or from what was the name of the little demon thing?
Corvus?
I think Nihilisa makes the most sense.
What?
Corvus.
Corvus, thank you. Or was it something that Maravek did? And I don't remember ever getting any direct evidence that Maravek was a particularly powerful or high-level character of any particular class.
Maravek was not. He was not very powerful. In fact, when you fought him, he was the first to die pretty quickly. He was old. I mean, he was like a 700-year-old elf. So he had a life,
Bob,
Old is just a number.
he was 400 years old.
I was a
Maravek?
kid.
Session
He was a child.
Was he 400?
Sorry, I'm just hyped that I have this book of notes.
Let me see.
I'm gonna try to chill out on that.
Let me see.
I don't know, even like, not to dive into like an opinion on religion, but like someone who's like so hell bent on the fact that they're right about everything, and like Xander Cartwright was like played to be. Like, it's not difficult to like misdirect that person into like being like, hey, like this crazy event's happening. Like maybe it's a
Right.
sign from your deity, you know?
But I just want to know. I want to know where that was coming from. Like who fooled him?
Either Maravik or Nihilisa saw him and was like, that's a useful pawn in my like. And I don't think it
Okay. Well,
totally matters which one did it. Like
You're right, Nate.
someone
Yeah,
somewhere
I
saw him
mean-
as a youthful idiot.
I want to know.
Nate was 100% right. He's 400 years old, yeah.
He's a kid. I could have been his babysitter.
Well,
400 years old is like a
That's like middle
very
age
old
at
dwarf.
best.
yeah.
What?
Bob, I think you played him
How old are
so
you?
well and so hateable.
Xander, perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Xander was well done. It was so confusing. But wait, how old are you?
Skeggy?
Skeggy.
Skeggy was 350 plus.
There you go. Exactly. I was like, that's
Possibly over 400. I don't know. He was
As
he
old
was
as
not
he
as old
looks.
as he looked because of the
plague.
the plague that he'd had.
But if Maravek's 4 and change, like Maravek is your elder. I mean, he's a young elf, but he's an old dwarf.
He looks old in the
He's
picture in the
dead.
book.
He's dead
Just to
now.
be
That's all
clear.
that matters.
Yeah.
As
Okay,
are most
so
of your children.
I don't know. Seeing Xander go down was not as. I mean, it had to happen. No question about that. But it
Yeah.
wasn't the moment of joy that it would have been if he had been. If he had been
Full evil.
fully evil rather than just someone who was a pawn or manipulated.
yeah,
And
so
I guess that's kind of my question: is who really was the big bad in this?
Good point.
so let's talk about the overarching story now. So with the finale and those characters with those NPCs that made a big deal in the campaign that were kind of the focus points, they all met their ends one way or the other. The Castellan went back to the keep because Xander and Maravek were killed. And this was all in service of bringing back one of the Gargants, one of these original creations of the Earth called Corvus the Bloodied. Now, here's just a background, and I'm going to answer your question, Jeff. I just can't answer it so easily.
That's fine.
But basically, here's my story. All right, this is definitely stuff that deviates from the book, which we'll talk about later. But okay, so for those of you who don't know, there's a guy named Mike. He plays on the channel. He's played in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. He's DM'd for me in real life. I've known him actually for probably closer to like 16 years at this point. But Jeff played in a game of his. I think some of you have played with Mike in some sort of capacity, whether it's a one-shot or something else on the channel. But Mike and another guy, Randall, who actually play here, he's played in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. They created this campaign setting called Illustria. We played it in real life. We know some of the cities that we've been to. Jeff might even recognize some of the names. But for the most part, this story was completely my own. I just got my inspiration from Mike's setting, actually. Which I know, and it's not mine, so I'm not going to put it out there for anybody to like take or get yet. And if Mike wants to share things, you know, I'm happy to promote it here on the channel. But basically, his setting had a pantheon, which you all recognize. None of these gods in the pantheon are from Forgotten Realms or anything like that. Barak chose to be a follower of Hyperius. Eric of the Trickster. What was your god again? Ilias? No.
Hold on, I got the character sheet in front of me.
Yeah, I forget off the top of my head. But you know, you've seen all the names. Maeve, Nihilissa. And these are all things that Mike and I think mostly Mike had created. And he created some vague, like, sort of storylines and things that you could associate with the history of that, the gods or goddesses. And so when I was reading through, and I kind of had an idea of what I wanted, right? I wanted this to be like a idea of chaos versus law. You know, really play on that. Talk about this goddess who's trying to manipulate people and turn people. And so I chose Nihilissa. It was pretty clear. She had the perfect, I think, ideology, symbolism. She had the weave. She was this like creator goddess, and ultimately it fit in with the kind of the flavor and theme that I wanted. And then as I was reading through his document, there was this event that happens called the Incandescent Night. And it's basically this aurora borealis that happens every decade, and it's like a swirl of chaos energy. It's kind of understood that it happens. It's like one of those weird things. It's people who don't follow that goddess don't care anything about it and maybe even hate it, but it's something that happens. There's nothing you can do to stop it, and the people who follow her love it. Now, I tried to have the gods be a little bit of a backseat, like they don't actively get involved too often. That's why Barak, you said, you know, like all the time, you wanted to be the paragon of, you know, Hyperius. You wanted to be his embodiment, basically, right? His offspring.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of Hyperius. And it just doesn't work that way, right? I just wanted the gods to be more like realistic, to like a, you know, more of a grim dark. They just don't get involved. It's not a happy place to be. And Nihilissa, for the last 1,000 years, have been kind of storing up her energy to try to bring back the Gargants that she had created and the other gods had killed. You know, nothing, you know, like a mother's scorn sort of thing. So she had saved up her energy, stored it up, didn't interact with her followers, things like that, and that reserved her energy to be able to, all in one big burst on this, you know, special anniversary of the Incandescent Night, not just bring him back from the dead. He's not undead. She's recreated him. And so he was brought back. And I think there were parts in the story that you got when you got the book, or when you were in the cave and you got some information about it, what these creatures were, what happened to them, how she was angry at the gods for destroying her first creation, kind of like destroying her children. And so this was the story. So she spent all this time storing up her energy to be able to impact the world in a more direct way, unlike all the other gods. And she set everything in motion. She was whispering to Xander Cartwright as if she were his god, Maeve, tricking him. The Whispering Woods, which is kind of like her, where the Gargant died, where she has most effect on this. So she was, anybody that went into the Whispering Woods, that's why it has that reputation of being that sort of twisting, and you're hearing that voice inside your head. It worked really well to people who give in to chaos, like Karg, for example, was a real easy one. But all of you, I tried to hook all of you into being some sort of change or do something different than your character would normally do. Whether it was, you know, Eric letting go of himself, letting show his true nature, Ula taking to alcohol, you know, Skeggy even, like, you know, trying to seeing your kids in their undead form, like just to like unnerve you. I tried to like make everybody kind of let loose, basically. And I think that ultimately the goal was to bring back her children, starting with Corvus, and that was the goal. Now Maravek was a follower of this cult of the Incandescent Knight, and he was the one kind of doing her bidding, especially in the last decade or so, of trying to manipulate the keep to be a sort of this home base for Corvus. And that was it. That was my big story. That was the biggest kind of part of everything.
It was good.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so she was acting directly.
Yes, unlike the other gods who don't, typically.
So typically, some
Hyperius made an exception.
someone.
Hyperius made an exception in the finale, but
Yeah. Why was Sosuri brought back to life?
so
I guess
Sasori,
that's my main question.
Hyperius. That's what I'm giving credit to.
It sounds. I mean, yeah, but
she Nihilissa wanted to show the rest of you how powerful she truly was. Turning somebody from stone to flesh is not so hard for a god, especially one who's, really, really.
I had to wonder to what degree of pre-negotiation happened between Bob and John before the episode.
You want to touch on
that's
that,
a
John?
great question. Almost nothing. Bob told me have Sasori's character sheet available.
Okay.
It's a little more than that. There was one day where we tried to chat, remember, in the teacher's lounge, and it wasn't conducive.
You said, "Are you willing to give up control of Karg?"
I said to you something along the lines, I can't remember exactly, but basically like I'm at some point I'm going to give you a choice to do something. I never want to take away your choice, but like it had to be you saying I want to give myself to Nihilissa. So I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, it's possible that you could lose control of your character. But I didn't want to tell you what it was going to be, because then otherwise you would know. If I say, hey, your character's going to die or not, I didn't want to say that. But we had a conversation just briefly that, like, would that be something you're interested in? Because if you're not interested in it, then I'm not going to do it. And I wouldn't have done it if you didn't agree to bring Sasori back.
Yeah, I felt as if like I was into like, well, yeah, my character, like Karg, was in love with the chaos and in love with magic, and like he was a drug addict, right? So like any good drug addict, he was like looking for the next hit, and like given the opportunity for more power, and like you had done that. Like I don't know if everyone picked up on that, but there were several times where Karg had been out of rages and had been given another rage. Several times where Karg, actually, I think twice, where Karg dropped to 0 HP.
Yeah.
And didn't go to 0. Like, this was all, like, things that Karg or Nihilissa, had offered Karg, or Bob had offered Karg, that were like...
Nihilissa. Let's put the blame the right place. Nihilissa.
Yeah, on Nihilissa. So, like, it had not been that quickly. Like, it was not something that just happened in the last stream. It had been over the course of a dozen, maybe, campaigns. I think it first happened the first time Karg died was almost like the third episode Karg was here. We're traveling from the keep, you know what I mean? Like, Scory is dead, and Karg is first traveling. We're traveling along the way. We deal with a bunch of those like crab people, and Karg goes down. And that was Karg's like first instance where, I'm the new character. I think it was still level 1. Maybe I was level 2.
Maybe level 1. Yeah.
Yeah. And I went down in that fight, and Nihilissa or someone Karg didn't know came to my aid.
She was there for you, like a good mother.
Yep. So like it was from pretty early on that like I was being groomed, if you will.
Yes, and then you chose the best subclass ever, the wild magic barbarian.
And that was just me, right? That
yes,
was, like,
I didn't.
Being like, seems like the most fun barbarian subclass.
I had no influence on his decision to pick the wild magic.
The way Karg came together was just so perfect.
Yes.
If you told me that the two of you had been working on this, off screen since since John rolled Karg up, I would believe you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
because the
we
whole
didn't.
thing was just so. There's only two ways it could happen. Either it was completely planned out,
Yeah,
or it was completely accidental.
it was completely organic. Yeah,
And I think another thing is the difference between John's relationship to Karg and my relationship to Skeggy and Tim's relationship to Eric. Karg was never your main character. And that was kind of evident. You were always looking for Sasori to come back.
That was the point. You're 100% right. I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you, Jeff. Like, that was the whole... Like, Karg was designed to be as annoying as possible.
Mission accomplished.
You did it. You did it.
I mean, guys, like, I don't understand. The whole idea was that I make the most annoying character possible, and you actually spend more than 30 seconds... I almost cursed. Sorry, YouTube. You spend more than 30 seconds trying to bring Sasori back to life.
Yeah.
Like, that was the whole point. If I just talk like this, everyone's going to hate him, and they're going to want him dead, and they're going to try to bring back...
But we kind of liked him.
It all backfired.
In the chat, Greyhawk Exile is a good point. Karg had a great character arc, even if it was a negative arc.
Oh, absolutely. And that's great. I mean, that's what makes good stories.
Yeah.
I
Blind
think,
luck.
I mean, it had not occurred to me that Sasori was coming back. It had not occurred to me that Karg was gonna give in. It all fit when it happened. It made perfect sense, but I didn't anticipate it at all. But as it happened, I went, "Oh yeah, I get that. I totally get that."
Yeah. So
That voice, by the way, for everyone here, like, I was just being quiet. Bob's running that stream. Bob's like, be prepared to, like, join us. And I had no idea. Bob and I had kind of talked. You're smiling, Bob. Like, I don't know if you want to interject, but we kind of talked like, yeah, like, maybe you'll come in at this point. And, like, out of nowhere, you're like, and then we meet Karg. And I was like, oh my God, I was not expecting to speak at this moment. And that voice just organically came out.
Mickey Mouse just came out. That was what it was.
It just came out.
Well, it was honestly perfect, fitting. I think Karg, being one of the newer characters, fit in well and became a sort of that character that grows on you over time, like a fungus, and it worked really well. And I like I said, I was sad to see Karg go because he had very heroic moments in the campaign, but it was kind of the way he was destined to go.
He was Boromir.
Yeah. Let's jump around some other characters here. So we were just talking about some characters who had died. Tim, your character Valentine was the first to die.
Oh yeah, quick, blaze of glory.
We don't need to talk as much about Valentine. I mean, he was only with us for 7 episodes, but
Yeah,
was there
probably.
something that you were hoping that Valentine might accomplish? Or was there something maybe like you were just saying you'll play it by ear, like whatever storyline came up and...
Kind of similar to the way John played Karg. I think with Barbarian, it's like very easy to lean into that like high emotional, like low rationale kind of character with that. And so my plan for the Barbarian had been like whatever the path of like, if there's one where it's like essentially a path of like you kind of like go full animalistic. And like I forget his last name, but it was like Valentine, like Luke Pinescu, and it was like something like clearly like wolf themed, and I was gonna go like werewolf kind of thing.
Okay.
And so I think that would have been like kind of interesting with the like at the end with the chaos. It's like same idea of like kind of playing with form, and like it would have been a lot easier as Barbarian to be like, yeah, absolutely, like leading to the chaos like Karg did.
So we never got to really explore that, but it's interesting to know that you actually had some ideas in mind. He was obviously with us for such a short time, seven sessions, but I loved Eric Lavernus, and it fits so well into what I was trying to do. So let's talk about this. So when you came to me and you wanted to play a tiefling, so immediately my brain started to click. I was like, okay, so in my world, I had wanted it to be a little bit more realistic, more like a gritty, realistic type of world. I didn't want anyone whose outward appearance would be like non-traditional fantasy. So like dwarves, gnomes, halflings, elves, that's all good to go. But I wanted anything that was really weird. If anybody wanted to play something like, a tiefling, even something like from the more exotic stuff, like well, just Dragonborn is not exotic, but Dragonborn, but even like what's the cat race or whatever, any of
Oh,
those.
like a Tabaxi or like an Aarakocra
Tabaxi,
thing.
yeah, Aarakocra. If you wanted to play something really weird, then we'd make it work. But the idea was going to be that there are people in this world who have this sort of like hidden secret, and anybody who has that ability can like mask themselves, kind of disguise self-esque, but even better than that, because it doesn't necessarily go away when you go unconscious. It's just more or less when you let it go. You know what I mean? When you choose to let it go, or it's taken from you in some cases, like we learned. But that was my goal. So I was always going to have an NPC. I did not create an NPC at the start of the game because I really was fleshing this out as the game went on. But I had planned to have an NPC be the person that needed to be sacrificed so that the Gargant could grow. That I had kind of in my mind from the beginning, right? Like when I had gone with the Gargant, I was like, I need somebody to be like that sacrifice or give up their secret. That was something I wanted to happen. Had not made the NPC, didn't think about it at all. And then your character came in and I was like, oh, so it'll just be Eric. So I was like, there we go, problem solved. But then I was chatting with one of my Patreon members, Robert. We do the the monthly chats where we talk about things. He can suggest items and stuff like that, which I didn't want to say anything during the games, but shout out to Robert, Vegas Paladin, because he gave a lot of cool ideas, like the kids, Edgar and Alan. That was his concept for an NPC. I fleshed everything out. But yeah, that was his concept for
awesome.
Way to go, Vegas Paladin.
Yeah, it was really cool because then I was like, okay, so you know what, maybe just have, there are plenty of people in this world. There could be plenty of Dragonborn, Tieflings, other creatures. And so I just was like, okay, so then these kids are also a part of it. So it gave me a little leeway. Like, let's say Eric died. Okay, well then it's kind of okay. I could still have these kids be at the cave at the end. Or if, if you decided to leave the kids behind, that would be an option, and actually would be better for you if you actually saved all the kids, both the kids, if you got them to the keep and didn't give them to Maravek, if you left them with like Gertrude or the Bomb Hours or Earl, right? Then those kids wouldn't have been at the cave, and the Gargant wouldn't have gotten as powerful as he was. I kind of fleshed that out over the course of the game, so I didn't have that from the start. But that was something that early on I was trying to figure out how I would do it, and when you made Eric, I was like, perfect. So I'm really happy you played Eric Lavernus, and your thoughts on his ending?
I was great. I thought it worked out really well, especially with kind of having like a similar background to the kids. You know, it's always, I feel like now in all my campaigns I'm in, like Nate's DMing one for us, and I've adopted like a child soldier on that one too. And it's like I always end up adopting children, and I'm a lumberjack, and I tell my little saplings, I'm like, I never want kids, and here I am in D&D, just constantly adopting orphan children. So
you're a lumberjack and you're okay.
Yeah, that transcends campaigns, by the way.
Yeah, it is now like several campaigns. I'm like, oh, orphan slave child, I'll take that one.
Tim is just, looking left and right.
You know,
So,
always recruiting. I was a cleric. I was recruiting for my deity. So you know, if you need someone to do that, let me know.
also, yeah, and another thing too, just Vegas Paladin posted in the chat, Karg's dagger, your jaw-toothed dagger.
Oh,
Yeah, that was.
That was my favorite item of the campaign. So
Good looks, Vegas Paladin.
That was so interesting, and I don't know if there was like a larger thing. I felt at playing the character, I felt like I needed to kind of lean towards the chaos and the evil, having used it, because it was addictive. That was like a really awesome weapon and super powerful, and like, damn, that was
so. Yeah, so we came up with the concept together. It was his idea for like the shape and the appearance of it all, and what it does. It like basically is like decaying you, right? Like it's like so. But then when I came in, I put some hard rules to it. So like every time you used it, and you could look back, every time you used it and you healed the necrotic damage, I put a little marker down on my page here. I don't know if you can see the tally marks. Oh, there they are, tally marks. So when you get to a certain level, every like 20 hit points you soak up, it gets better, and then also gets makes you closer to death. So it was like, here you go. So it's a +1 weapon, D6 necrotic damage. When it gets to 21 to 40 hit points, it increased the damage to D8, but then you couldn't get any temporary hit points. The next one was no healing allowed. The only healing would have been from 41 to 60 would have been no healing allowed. It was only the dagger's healing would heal you.
crap.
and then once you got to 80, you would have died. You would have been like dead. You would have been
So that healing, so when it went from a D6 to a D8, that happened the same time we leveled.
It happened to be the same time you leveled. Yes.
So I did not pick up on that because I was just like, oh, I leveled up, so I'm level 5, so things are better.
Yeah. So every 20 hit point threshold, you got better with the dagger, but then the dagger, started to deteriorate you.
So I mean, I picked up on the other hints you made about my skin turning to leather. There were so many other clues.
Yeah.
But I completely missed that specific aspect of it because I leveled up at the same moment. So that's really interesting. I love that dagger.
Yeah.
Actually, I also loved that I knew that my friendly neighborhood wizard down there, didn't tell me all the information about it. And I'm glad you didn't, because that made it so much more fun. Again, I miss Karg. I loved Karg.
Yeah. He was
Answer
great.
a thing in the chat before, like, do I feel great about Karg leaving and Sasori coming back? Like, I loved both characters, but I kind of think I love Karg more.
Interesting. Well, you played him for about the same time.
Yeah.
In total, you played him for about the same amount of episodes, like 25-ish episodes each. So
it felt like the right arc, though. Like, I feel like he did Karg his due.
Yeah. And then moving on to the last player death, which was Skeggy, obviously, Scory. Jeff, obviously, when that happened, you were gutted. Safe to say.
I was.
No, yeah, you were. And I remember we had a conversation on the phone.
Yeah, we did.
talked for probably like an hour, right? At least. Yeah. At least. I was getting Chinese food. I was waiting online, and I had ordered, got my food, left, drove home, and we were still on the phone. So, but yeah. And so tell us your thoughts on Scory's death, and then how you replaced him with Skeggy.
Well, I mean, we had some of that conversation I'm not going to go into here, just because it's not relevant to everybody. But I mean, I knew death was on the table at all times, so I wasn't like crushed that he died, because player characters shouldn't be allowed to die. I did feel a little bit like we were cornered, and I knew in my head that Scory was dead the minute you said roll for initiative. I'm like, there's no way we're getting out of this. So, at least one of us is going to die, and I knew who was going to be standing in front taking the blows. And if you go back and watch the episode, I think you see everyone else is a lot more surprised than me when Scory went down. I'd had 20 minutes to get ready for that, but losing him was tough because I had a lot of ideas about the relationship between Scory and Barrick, because for one thing, Scory's role as a bard, I kind of had hoped if that relationship had continued, that Scory would have kind of had an opportunity to kind of sell Barrick as a folk hero, with the populace, and to kind of explore the theme that protecting society is a dirty job, but it's important that people not realize how dirty a job it is. So kind of at the same time that Scory was being more realistic than Barrick was at the beginning about what had to be done in order to accomplish that goal, and that's what the Goblin Babies were about. I mean, this is a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, and we've got to do it.
What's also great that it also ties in perfectly is that was your mindset 100%. That was also Xander's mindset 100%. So it's kind of funny that the two of you were maybe more like-minded than you thought.
But Xander enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no,
and
absolutely.
Scory hated having to do it.
Oh, of course,
and he hated that he was the only one who was willing to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but he knew it because he knew it was the most humane thing, or he believed it was the most humane thing to do for those baby goblins. Okay, was to give them a quick exit because they couldn't live. We weren't going to take them home and raise them as civilized creatures, and to leave them, the best thing that could happen would be something would come along and eat them quickly.
Right.
And every other possibility was worse. Okay, and what I wanted to do, what Scory wanted to do for Barrick, is educate Barrick about the true cost of being the defender of civilization. You know,
Sure.
and that when Scory died, then that storyline or that theme kind of went away. And I was really lost for several days about what to do in the campaign and what to make for a new character.
Oh, but Jeff, it was so good. It was so good.
And it was like Saturday afternoon, and I heard the voice. I mean, a lot of times a character, as bad as my accents are, and they're terrible. I'm not a voice actor by any stretch of the imagination. But when I kind of figured out that I had a different bad Scottish accent in me than Scory's, because Scory's very upbeat and excited, you know, and Skeggy's low, and he's jaded. He's seen the world, you know, and just to try to come from the same culture and the same background, but at a very different point in his life, was what made me think, okay, this is the character that's gonna finish this story. And so then I got really excited about it again. But yeah, it was a tough go, because we've been playing for pushing a year at that point, or maybe even more than a year, because it was every other week.
It was almost exactly a year. It was like July of I think it was July. It was this summer. I remember it was like right in the middle of summer, because I remember I was cutting the grass the day that we had the crazy dream episode. The nightmare fueled dream. That was I was cutting the grass, and it was like hot and heavy grass, and I remember texting everybody. We're like, oh, we're gonna be missing Fritz, and we're gonna be missing, I think, John. And then I was like, all right, I got something that we can happen. It will be good. And I expedited actually that episode a couple of episodes ahead of time, because I just didn't want something where you all decided to leave the keep and then you're missing your crew. But it was a dream sequence kind of thing, so it worked out. But when Skeggy came in to replace him, the scene in Gertrude's was perfect. I mean, Barrick was carrying the body, it just brought him in, and he felt so guilty about it because you and Eric were in jail, and you got there just at the end, and it was like perfect. It was poetry to then have to deal with his dad. It was like so good.
Yeah.
Tragic poem.
Yeah, and speaking of tragedy, let's talk about Barrick Helios, because you felt like you had a bunch of deaths on his hands, right, throughout the whole game?
Definitely Sasori.
But it wasn't that.
That one.
Really?
I was just finding the right page, and my first comment to the session after you died is, Hieronymus blames me. ... So do I.
Oh.
That's harsh.
It was because I wanted to approach the Medusa sympathetically, which I think was kind of. It's funny that you say kind of what you said, Jeff, because I don't think that arc got lost. I think
no. I think
my goal
Barrick had his arc.
Well, no. But I was saying the arc you were talking about. So I really wanted Barrick to kind of have this naive, like, black and white, this is what's good and this is what isn't, start to his character that would kind of develop throughout, and then, ending with a more kind of, leveled head on what really happens in the world. That being said, I think at the end of the game, still doesn't want to, still thinks those types of actions would be, he wouldn't want to be the enemy he's trying to rid the world of.
No, not at all.
But yeah, definitely, I think he almost had that arc that you were talking about having with Scory. So I thought that was kind of neat that it played out that way.
Well, and you kind of had to go through it alone.
I did. Those nights we used to console each other were really they helped. But
Wait a minute, that sounds weird.
He had Hieronymus.
it
He
was,
had Hieronymus to guide him through it.
Yeah,
Hieronymus
Hieronymus
was fantastic.
became his spiritual advisor.
The most unlikely of companions.
Yeah,
Indeed,
yeah.
a good balance for each other.
Do you think that the fact that you lost somebody, it was really just you and Hieronymus, that you and Hieronymus had a different relationship than the other 3 characters?
I felt so, yeah. Eric similarly, but there was always something Eric was like hiding.
Was there?
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, me.
And Hieronymus, I mean, say what you will, he was open.
It was an open book.
Yeah, you knew what he thought, you knew what he felt, and Barrett definitely liked that about him. Yeah, I definitely think they kind of had some of that OG field with each other.
Yeah, and it all came down to the end where you finally got your symbol from Hieronymus. Hyperius. You got
Exactly.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I don't know
I'm
what was
glad
more of a miracle: Hieronymus turning to Hyperius, or Hyperius showing up finally.
It was
Well, I did
so
not
amazing.
expect that.
Yeah.
I was pumped. I had that moment when you said Hyperlight broke. I was like, if Bob just like lets it break and I just die in this fight, like I'm gonna be such a mope for a week.
So
There's
just
no way. So I was so excited.
so here's the deal, Nate. I'm gonna reveal a little bit here. Hyperlight is in the book. That's not something we made up. That's legit. It is a cursed item. It's in the book. It's legit. It's supposed to trick you and like you think it's great and awesome, and then when you use it, it's supposed to like fail you completely. But
Mission.
I decided
accomplished.
to actually let you run with it longer and wait until it had to be used against its like master, basically.
I
so-
love that.
So that was in the book, not the connecting it to the Gargant story, but just the fact that there was a magical sword, cursed sword, there in that box, and that was there. So
I like that twist. It was really well done.
yeah. And speaking of the coming to the light, Hieronymus, we end with you. Tell us about Hieronymus's journey, Chris. I think it ended rather fitting for him too. You had options. You could have taken a job, but you decided to not go with what maybe you wanted at the beginning of the campaign to be with your friends, right?
Yeah. Well, so from the beginning, I didn't really have a whole lot planned into Hieronymus because he was just he was a sum of his die rolls. He rolled one good stat, so that's what he was. So I didn't put a lot of planning into him, and he really, literally developed on screen as we played. I was making decisions for him, in conversation, and then they became kind of who he was, from everything to his little background to the almonds and all that. That was just all
I forgot about the almonds.
I'll just kind of as it went. I knew basically how I was going to play him. I was going to play him a little bit more vicious than I did, but even as throughout the first half, he was pretty vicious. But then really it was Nate and Barrick's influence that kind of shifted him, and he started listening to Barrick, and the light kind of shined on him a bit, and he went from in the little bit I had shared about him kind of behind the scenes with Bob, he went from a staunch non-believer to this, he had a moment when at that last fight when Barrick got the weapon from Hyperius, the hammer, and Hieronymus first of all was envious, and then when he saw him use it though, he was taken aback by the sheer power of the burning sun, and he realized that his own power is not so far away from that power granted by Hyperius. And in that moment he found a god, and also he wanted a weapon.
And he tried. He asked.
He tried, and he went for it. And but he
Love that.
he was trying to manipulate the weave to get himself a staff of fire. But at the same time, he was taken aback and genuinely impressed by the display of power.
Wow. Well, I can't say it better than everybody in the chat basically today. Everybody's talking about how great your arcs were, how great you role played. It really was a fantastic job all around. Every one of you, the characters from the characters when they died, to your return with a new character, or for Nate and Chris playing those characters and having them last for the 52 episodes. That's a long time. It's a lot of development that goes into them, and you all put a lot of crafting into the stories behind them. So it was really great to see. And I will just touch on the ending here. So we left it a little open. At the end of the episode, you saw that there's a scene in the caves. There's that pulse of red, some sort of shifting of the earth, the rubble cleared in that blocked passageway. What do you think's down there?
It's not good.
Not something that Eric Lavernus is ready to face. So you know that.
Spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't started the new Zelda game. But you clear the realm of, enemies, and you proceed further down. Nate, correct me if I'm wrong here, because you're further along than I am. Under the castle, and you find another evil. So maybe another campaign where we get back to the keep and we proceed further down and we find the next level.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think if Nylessa saved up her power for 1,000 years for this, and that was all she could do, she's really a pretty weak god. I don't think that was everything she's got.
Interesting.
Maybe Nylissa is a patron. Yeah, you're right. If she saved up her... Okay, good point. Yeah.
Let's see.
Maybe she's got
Hieronymus is that powerful in like a week.
Maybe she's got one more bullet in the chamber. We'll see. But yeah, I left it open, obviously, because I would like to return at some point with these characters and play. Now, I do think it's going to be challenging to get Skeggy to come back. I would think it would be tough to get Eric to come back. But we're not gonna make decisions or declarations now, because who knows what'll bring people back. I mean, look, in all the Marvel movies, you think they wouldn't team up, and then they do again. They just keep getting pulled right on back in. So no declarations about your characters today, but maybe at some point we'll revisit this storyline, and I left it open. Which this is going to tie into the section of this conversation where I want to talk about Homebrew versus the module.
Oh my god, I have so many comments. Yeah, sorry.
And we're going to get to them. Now, that ending is not necessarily my own creation. I'm not going to speak more on it because we might actually end up going in there, but it's not necessarily something that I just was like, I'm making this happen. But I'll leave it at that. But that's just the last little tidbit about the epilogue. But yeah, there were a lot of things about this campaign that I decided to change. There were some things that I kept as is. And I'm just going to let you all know some of the bigger changes. If you've ever played Keep on the Borderlands, all of you out there, you know what I'm talking about, okay? First things first, this book, this one, Into the Borderlands, which is what I've been using, it contains like 5 different versions of the game, okay? So the original publication, which was the 1978 version, which, it looks way different, obviously. It's got
like
the old
3
box
modules.
Text. So there's actually a few. There's In Search of the Unknown, which is B1, and then B2, which is the Keep on the Borderlands. You can use In Search of the Unknown as a prequel, like a starting point to get your characters to go to the Borderlands, but basically the Keep on the Borderlands is what everybody remembers it as. And so there's both of those publications in there, the first original 1978 publications. And then you've got the updated one, which was from 1980 or something like that, 2 years later. It was just a more trimmed down, updated, just slightly different version. And I actually used some of the originals stuff. I preferred actually reading the originals for box text and everything, because everything fits more on one page. The font is smaller, it's more concise, it just fits onto one page. Once you get to, and you got artwork like this is Minotaur just sitting there chewing on a leg, okay? great stuff here. Look at that. All right, but when you get to the updated version, you can see the text is completely different. Like, it's so much more, Times New Romany. It's like, it's completely different. And the Minotaur, I mean, I could find
The last
the
thing
Minotaur.
Lumberjacks won is more Times New Roman.
Oh yeah.
Look, I'm not going to complain about artwork because art is subjective, but like, the artwork is different. The Bugbear Cave, remember when they were eating the mutton or whatever it was, the legs?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This is from the newer one. This was not in the older one. So this
You
is
were
like more
wily in that
modernized.
game.
What's that?
I said we got wily in that game.
You did.
Yeah, we did some dumb stuff in that cave.
Yeah, you did.
It worked out.
It
That's
worked out
fun.
perfectly.
So basically, I was using the modified version, the 5e version, but sometimes I would go back. The 5e version, all it did was convert certain dice rolls to like skill checks, because it was not the same in original D&D. And what it did, which I didn't use all the time, was it gave names to all the people, because every single NPC in the original module has no name. None. There are no names in the entire module.
It's just 4 goblins.
Yes, or barkeeper,
Castellan.
the Castellan, the advisor to the Castellan, the evil priest, literally. So Xander, Ferric, Maravek, all those people, they are not named in the original module. They're
If you would have
just
said the evil priest, I may have thought a little bit differently about the character.
Yeah, that's a pretty dead ringer for.
so.
I'm glad you changed that.
Well, in the module,
I wonder, what do you suppose this guy named Evil Priest is thinking? Can we trust him?
in the forward,
I don't know. Karg's intelligence, he might have.
he might have been fine.
No, so Suri's intelligence. Karg was intelligent.
Yeah.
He was just
Really?
not charismatic. So Suri was on board with, I don't know, evil. Okay, nice to meet you, Mr. Full. What does
Evil.
E stand for?
Her name is Cruella de Vil.
I
But,
trust her implicitly.
Eric would. But yeah, so they didn't give names to any of the characters. Now, I actually chose the character's name for Maravek in the book. The 5e version gave Maravek a name, and I took Maravek because I liked it. It sounded like Maravek to me. But I took his character and did different things with it, obviously. He's not supposed to be evil. He's kind of just like chilling in the keep. Xander, I named him completely. In fact, I ran a couple of names past my wife, and I was like, which one sounds like the most like normal name? I don't want somebody that sounds evil. I want it to sound like a normal guy's name. And I ran by her, and I don't even know if she remembers this, but it was like, however long ago now, like 2 years now. But I was like, hey, what are you pick these names? And I almost went with Theodore. That was one of my first ones.
Petty.
But I went with Xander. I think I had 3 names I was going between. I went with Xander. And then Castellan, I named her. Baumauer, obviously Earl Butts, that I named.
So well done.
Butts.
Zeb, I named.
Wait, was the DB thing you too?
Zeb was me. Yeah, that was all me. Yeah.
Oh, Pop.
The D and the B, the reversal. Look,
That was fantastic, that
as
little
a-
intro.
as a
That,
teacher, I've seen
that
it
was
too
a
many times.
lumberjack thing,
Yeah.
Seen it too many times.
completely.
And then other characters. Who are some other characters? Levy Merrick was my own character.
Show Rembo.
In the module.
Where's he at?
In the module.
What happened to Show Rembo?
That will have to wait for if we
What?
pick this game back up again. Yeah.
Oh,
Are you kidding?
No, I can't tell
That's
you.
the
We don't get
cliffhanger.
an answer if he's dead or alive?
I can't reveal.
Alright, well, I'm
No.
assuming he's alive then. If he's not, I'm going to be disappointed.
I can't reveal it. I'm sorry. We'll see.
If Man Bun grows that thing back, I feel like there's a side mission where all
Maybe,
Suri
yeah.
wants to do is cut it off.
So Mohag and Show Rembo are in the book, in the 5e module. There's a chart for random NPCs. I don't know if you can see it here, but Mohag is right there.
Mohag the Wanderer.
What
Alright.
a champ.
And he's a male human.
Does it
Afton
say
Barr,
Man
I don't know if you saw
Man
Afton
Bun?
Barr's name is there.
Yeah.
And Show Rembo is here too. Yep, Show Rembo is here too. So Afton Bar, Show Rembo, and Mohag. I got help from the book. I made their characters my own. They weren't given to. They're just basically like if you need to make up a character, you roll this chart, and here you go as a name, race, whatever. And so I did that, but I didn't use the. But so shout out to the Into the Borderlands. This is a really great resource if you plan on running this module. Pick it up. I mean, it's just really, really helpful to have. It has 5e stat block conversions, but it has the older versions if you don't want to do that. It just has a lot of, and there's a lot of, in the forward, there's like stuff from the creators of D&D, other creative directors over time. They gave their opinions of the module. It's ranked one of the better modules in the history of D&D, but it's really more for its open world, sandboxy type thing. So, because you can do whatever you want with it. So this is what I did with it. I kind of ran everything the same. You all complained about magic items, that there weren't a lot. Just, you got to blame Gary Gygax. There just weren't that many. I didn't take any away.
That's fine. Well, wait, can't both be true, though? Can't we complain about them
you can.
And that be okay?
You can. Actually. All right, so...
They were fantastic, Bob.
Let's hear it, everybody. Go ahead. I want to hear your...
the waiting better.
Good. I'm glad it did. The waiting is the hardest part.
Oh,
somebody once
heady
said
reference.
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so go ahead. Have at me. What do you want to know?
All right. Bob, that bandit hut that we burned down in session,
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like 11 or something?
The Raven's Nest.
Yeah. And to be fair, rewatching it, I would put some of the blame on the DM's shoulders who rolled the barrel in there. But,
Absolutely, and I put those barrels there because I wanted that to be a possibility, but
oh yeah.
I also thought you'd work to, like, not blow the house up. I thought you
Really?
might try to... Yeah, I did. I really
You
did.
don't know
No, that
us
was after
very well,
11
do you?
sessions of us watch. Come on, you got to know that. That's what we do.
No. So were we supposed? Well, no, not supposed to, because I know it's not the way it goes. But like, could we have ended up using that as like a home base? Is that what you thought we might end up doing with it?
So if you had stopped the thugs, if you didn't let the place burn down, the Raven's Nest was actually Decario's, who was also a character that I created. There is a wizard in the tower, but that's all it is in the book. Decario's master, the actual Decario the Wise, was a much more powerful wizard than the Decario you met, and died.
So
His death is actually a mystery. Had you questioned him more about it, because I think I left a couple of breadcrumbs there, but none of you actually pressed it. I think Hieronymus was just never interested, always wanted just stuff from him, so didn't really care to listen. Am I right, Hieronymus? Probably?
I don't care.
Yeah. So
That's what you want to hear from a player.
that's
I don't
what
care about your backstory.
yeah, that's all I can expect, right? I just spent hours writing it. It's okay. Nobody needs to know. But the real Decario, the true Decario, the Wise,
The OG.
the OG. He actually disappears mysteriously. People think he's dead, and I didn't know that I would keep him dead or not or anything like that. So he may be alive. I don't know. We'll see. But his death was a mystery, and his apprentice, the Mohag, the Decario you knew, took over. He never knew the location of Raven Rock. Never got entrusted with that. The Raven's Nest was basically his, fortress of solitude. He created that massive illusion, that permanent illusion, so that he could come and go without people bothering him, and had a wealth of knowledge in there, like tomes upon tomes. And that's how you were going to find out about Nihilissa, the Gargants, all the stuff that tied into everything was going to be in that house.
Yeah.
So,
Because it was so far from the caves, it never felt like it needed to be our home base. But our library, I suppose, that has a different...
It also wasn't particularly convenient to the keep.
Yeah,
that's
it was
why
not-
it would have been good, because the keep didn't care about it. Yeah.
So I gotta say, in all of my decades of playing this game, I've never encountered an adventure where there was so few like scrolls available for the wizard to enhance his repertoire.
Yeah.
Please tell me they were all in that house and I burned them all down.
No, they weren't. In the module, their There really isn't. Like, it's just everything I told you. Every time you found items, if there was a scroll, I told you what it was. I gave it to you. Some actually, I threw in more scrolls. I threw in more. I think that you had killed that hobgoblin wizard in the
he had a
hobgoblin lair,
couple.
and
Yeah.
I put that in there. That wasn't in the module. So I just threw some stuff your way because I knew you needed some scrolls. But really, you're supposed to go to Decario to get them. But you guys were always focused on the larger problems rather than, I'd say, the only time you ever really did something for him was get the mushrooms, right? So
Yeah.
and you didn't go to visit him all too much, which is fine. I mean, it's the way you chose to play it. I'm not going to penalize you for it. But he's really the one you're supposed to go to for magic, right? You could learn from him. Obviously leveling up is another way you just get your spells innately, but yeah.
Did we hit the bullywugs too soon?
No. I
Were
mean,
we?
Valentine says we did.
the bullywug.
Damn it, Valentine's so close.
Everything about the wilderness is not keyed to like a certain level. It's just like some things you could run into and just, oh my god, you got to run away. You should run. When you get there, you should just run. The bullywugs have like an army, basically. I did make up the maze though. I made, instead of it being just like you come onto their swamp and you fight them in a swamp, I made it a maze, which I thought was much cooler.
Definitely.
The maze.
The Bullywug King was I forget if it's a stat block in there or not, but it's like this. It's a 5e stat block of like a large frog, behemoth thing, whatever. And it was the same level of like CR, I would say, or whatever that you would have fought in the actual module. But yeah, I mean, it's just when you make an attack on like an army, they're gonna fight back, and that guy was big, and you were low level, and I mean, it just happened. Yeah.
And we got our asses handed to us 2 or 3 times early on, and
Yeah.
and I think we got scared,
Good.
particularly after losing Valentine,
Yes.
and got very cautious for a while
I think so. Yeah. And I
before
know,
we eventually evolved back into the kick the door down strategy.
I don't know. Sasori killed like 6 bullywugs in that encounter solo.
True.
The rest of you were all off gallivanting, getting Valentine killed. So
Wow.
Hey, it happens.
John, how's the umbrella with all that shade over there? Jeez. Woo! I believe Sasori ran ahead and said, "I'm a rogue. This is what we're supposed to do."
and then found a dead end and basically cleaned up a bunch of children on the end. Yeah.
I have to rewatch that.
I'm trying something out here.
You did
on
kill
the...
a lot of stuff. It was excellent.
Yes, you did. I'm trying something out here on the YouTube chat. I'm doing this Q&A thing. I don't know if it actually works, but I'm putting here, let us know your questions. If you want to put one in here, you can. I think that I can still look and see the live chat anyway, so if you chat there, you can. So I'm going to go through a couple of ones here, because some of them might be ones you'd be interested in. I think it was Chris from Long Island said, what happened with the Chai Chapel?
Oh
So-
yeah. Who killed the priest? That was one of my questions.
Oh, poor Father Bleegram, yeah.
I was gonna say I gotta.
Yeah,
All right.
I want to know about that too, definitely.
Tough
Is
run.
it Marivac?
By extension, it would be Maravek, but it was not Maravek himself. It was the Acolytes, Bogan, and Hubert.
Those schmucks.
So what?
Plausible deniability.
They
So-
died quickly, so.
I
So
didn't kill him.
they are
Yeah.
part. They were part of the incandescent knight. They were
Did
part of the cult.
Did Xander know that?
No.
So Xander
He
thought
really
he was
wasn't.
there.
He really was a
Oh,
stooge.
man.
Yeah, he thought that they were. He thought they were coming to him for to become followers of Maeve and the just God, and they took their vows and they did everything and followed him. But in reality, they were working for Maravek. Maravek was Nylissa's pawn on this realm, so she sent them to basically. He sent them to basically, kind of gently massage Xander to the right direction.
So when Xander showed up at our apartment demanding that we hand over the crystal, Maravek already had the crystal and knew it.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my god.
Good point. Yeah. Good point.
Yep.
We couldn't have made Xander happy if we'd wanted to. We didn't have the thing you wanted.
Well, I think I mentioned this when we chatted about it. Xander, if you had told, in your own right, Scory was not happy with him from the get-go. He was very obtuse and was angry because of everything everything that just had happened, on top of Xander trashing their apartment and obviously being a general lowlife. But basically, yes, he wouldn't have killed anybody if you had told him information. If you had said what happened, that if you told him about the dream, if you told him that you went to see Father Bleeger, if you told him everything, then he wouldn't have done anything. He would have done more towards finding the crystal himself. But then when his acolytes died, that connection to Maravek kind of severed as well. So it took a while for Maravek to get comfortable enough to sort of control him himself, or at least plant the crystal with him on his own. But yes, yeah. But it would have taken you to be like, we give in. We're not going to fight you. We're just going to give you all the information we know, which you might not want to do. I can see that. And Scory was definitely, rightfully angry at him.
I mean, as far as we understood the world at that point, he was the big bad evil guy, and we weren't likely to cooperate with him.
Sure.
I mean, I don't see any other way. I don't know what we could have given him, even if we'd wanted to, that would have made him happy.
Oh, I hear you.
You can say that if we had just told him the truth, that he would have accepted that and left. Maybe so, but we weren't going to do that. I mean, he, based on our understanding of what was going on at that point, flawed and incomplete though it was, he was the bad guy. And that seemed pretty clear to us, even though it turned out to be more nuanced. But
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. And that's part of being a character in the game. You don't have all the information. You have to go with what you know. So we got a couple other questions here. Or anything else tying to this? I feel like that was a big part of the game.
I mean, just to wrap the Xander thing up, I would just like to know, out of curiosity, now that he's dead anyway, what class, level, and subclass was he? Can you say, or was he not really a class?
Do you want to know?
He took the oath of douchebaggy. And,
but I don't think he did. I mean,
do you want to know?
He thought he was fighting a good fight, which kind of makes him almost like a tragic character.
Do you want
makes it sympathetic in the end.
Do you want the veil?
I'm not sympathetic. I can see how he could be sympathetic.
Well, the question is, do you want the veil of mechanics revealed? Do you want that?
No.
No?
Oh, I did.
Bob, I got a few rapid fire questions for you.
I'll tell you, Jeff, off screen then. But
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to know how totally outclassed we were.
I'll tell you off screen. It's actually legitimate. I'm not like, I didn't.
If he were still alive and the possibility existed that the campaign might continue at some future date, I would not ask the question.
Gotcha.
A knot, and Knot's cave.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, we met Knot, and then I couldn't tell if we were hanging out with Knot longer than you expected, or when we left him at the river and we were just like, "All right, peace, Knot. Like, you can't cross the river. See ya."
No.
Yeah.
Listen, these characters are just there for you.
I'm not saying. Sorry, yeah, I don't mean to say like we're supposed to do this, we're supposed to do that. I mean like in terms of your expectations, because when
you didn't want to go to Knott's cave immediately, because he wanted to go and fight the Manticore, he was not going to be with you for very long.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We had some other mission.
Did we ever go to the Spider Forest?
You did not go to the Spider Forest, and Chris from Long Island said that at the end. He's like, I thought you were going to make them do that. And I was like, I don't know, but that was a long time ago. So no, we're not going back to the Spider Forest.
I remember that being one of the 5 or 6 main spots, and we just never went.
You never went there. It's fine. That's
All
right. The wilderness things are actually designed for you to just go and, on the way to the caves, find some encounters, gain some experience, get some loot, That's really all it
Nice.
is. That's what those wilderness encounters are for. And you played
Even-
right into it in the early game. You went into the wilderness, and some of them were
Yeah.
hard, some of them were easy, but for the most part, yeah. I mean, that's what they're there for, just for you to like hang out and get some XP.
All right, last topic, Bob.
Go for it.
Medusa.
Yes.
That ended up being kind of an integral part of Barrick's trajectory.
It was on my list.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Medusa, Xander found the Medusa in the Medusa's hut, the one that's in the Whispering Woods,
Yeah, the one that we burnt down.
the one that you burned. Xander found the Medusa, beat the Medusa, captured the Medusa, brought her to the caves, shackled her there as a sort of a guardian, so to speak. He didn't want anyone but himself getting into that cave. And he knew that when he needed to open that cave, whenever he was going to open it, he wanted to have sort of a force, a fighting force ready, because he doesn't know who he could trust. So he raised some of the dead bodies, and because he's a cleric. He's a cleric. So he raised some of the dead bodies, and he put the Medusa there, eventually going to use that as his force. But you destroyed them.
Ah.
Yeah.
That poor. I kind of felt bad for the Medusa. You made her a sympathetic character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or she was, rather. Sorry.
She was. Yeah.
She was a sympathetic character.
In the actual module, you know what? She's actually just straight up in the caves, and I just took her out of the cave. I was like, she's just gonna be a pawn in here, because it didn't. The caves are like somebody, I forget who said this. I've watched somebody describe this as like a monster hotel. The caves are like a monster hotel. It's like you got goblins, you got orcs, hobgoblins, gnolls, a minotaur, a Medusa. It's just like random shit all over the place, and it doesn't make any sense. And so I was like, all right, so I'm gonna take some of the pieces out. But obviously this is an area that's built up by Nylissa, so it's and her followers. So yeah, a couple questions from the question and answer chat, which is in the YouTube chat here. What was the spinning metal wheel in the final fight? What was its purpose, effect? It didn't seem to do anything obvious. Yeah, so obviously that would have been explained a little more if the group had befriended maybe Maravek, or if they took Maravek to the end. I had a lot of different ways that this could have gone. Like, you could have killed Xander before going to the place. You all wasted, and I say wasted, I don't mean wasted. You spent quite a bit of time in the caves, and you let the plot develop at the keep. So my sort of compensation for all that, you leveling up, getting XP, and doing all that, and it's not really following through with the plot line, is that people were making moves at the keep. And so it could have been that you went back to the keep earlier, stopped Xander there. There could have been like some play with like politics and stuff, and maybe then Maravek would have shared with you some of the more intricate history there. Or Afton Barr, who, if you found out more about him, he was another cult member. And so these people were experts, studied the area. They could have been trying to convince you otherwise, but ultimately that was something that was created by Nylissa's followers, thousands of years ago, or as a sort of a what's the word, like a beacon of her power, like the node of her power, so to speak. So it gave birth to the Gargants once again, and was like the core of her power, where it was stored. So by destroying that, you prevented her from like teleporting more monsters in, making the Gargant continue to grow, stuff like that. That was the wheel. Any questions on that one? Okay, yeah, it's pretty. I mean, like I said, it was obscure. You wouldn't have known it unless things went differently, probably. The Chaos Bugs, they were all from like this other plane of existence. They were aberrations from another plane, the cosmic plane, basically, where Nylissa lives, and she was sending them through as more of like a diversion. But eventually, when Corvus rises, it would be his army. Which is also another way that I could have gotten you to go into the cave. Let's say you just didn't want to go in the cave. Well, then he's building up his power, and an army keeps coming through to stop it. You'd have to go in there, and that would be another way to get you to go in the cave at the end. If you took things dramatically in a different route.
So then why did the bugs attack Xander and his crew and kill their
they're mindless. They don't have any any thought. The only person that would be able to control them would be Corvus, once he's fully reloaded. Corvus reloaded.
That was
Um,
okay. That was well done. I like that.
The group, how did the group avoid the spiders and the Chris? How did they avoid? The group avoided the spiders in the swamp area. How dangerous were they? Poison. They're spiders. Yeah, I guess they're like giant spiders in the D&D Player's Handbook or Monster Manual. Would you say that the closest the group came to dying was the plant monster hermit in the Mountain Lion? Who can forget Tim yelling "mango"? I don't know what that even means. What was that, Tim?
Mango is generally my safety word, so I don't know what I was saying, but
Weren't we trying
Oh,
to?
Tim has a safe word. Good to know.
Yeah.
usually
think
like
we
whenever
had a
someone's
safe
asked, like
word.
we need to like if someone's like doing a heist or something in D&D, they're like, "What's the word?" So, like, I'm like mango. It's not a word that comes up in casual conversation. I'm like, that's always my go-to.
I love mangoes.
So imagine we were doing. I've got no idea why I said it. I imagine we were doing something that needed. Maybe when I was going in with the orcs.
No, you were going into the archway that the monsters were coming from.
I wasn't there. That was one that I
That
missed.
was a really
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
situation where a few of us had been not there for a session or two. I feel like we went for a while where like
Wow.
people missed a session.
You're right.
So there was some other people playing each other's characters, right? And we were traveling along the way, and we came up to this hermit in
Yeah.
a tree. And then we talked to the hermit, and we trusted the hermit. There were hallucinations. This is the time we were traveling through the forest.
Yeah.
Right? And I think
Yeah.
it was really the only time we
It's
actually...
when we burned down the Medusa hut too.
Yeah.
Correct. We burned down the Medusa hut. We saw the hermit. We were looking for the Fortune 5.
Yes.
Call.
Mm.
Like, and I don't
Fortune's
know, we failed
5.
some checks, and I think we played it really fun. I think we did a good job of, like, letting our characters do what they were going to do, but we lost Zeb, right? We had to
Yeah.
fight this plant monster up against that was, like, a vine monster on the archway.
Eric, Ula, and Sasori all went down in that fight.
Yeah? It was
Yeah.
tough.
I feel like obviously this might be a good chance to talk about Fritz. Obviously, we wanted Fritz to play in the campaign. Work came up, and look, we're all just doing this for fun, right? Like, I mean, this is nobody's job. I thank you all many, many times for like actually playing on the channel, dedicating your free time to playing. So if Fritz couldn't do it, I'm not gonna gripe about it. But he was missed. It was great to have him when he was here. Obviously, it was just kind of hard, and but Ula is still alive, and she came to see Hieronymus, and I think probably when Zeb died, Hieronymus was very upset, right? But his heart hadn't grown 3 sizes bigger yet. So now getting Ula back, maybe even becoming friendlier with Barak and finding religion, maybe what Ula has to say will spur the adventure onward. We'll see.
Ooh,
We'll see.
exciting.
Ooh, la.
Ooh, la.
Ooh la la.
Now, a couple other questions here. So yeah, was that the time that was really dangerous? Yeah, it was really dangerous, but I feel like Hieronymus still had some decent hit points. I think the problem was with that vine creature was literally just a vine creature. It's like just grew on the thing. It just had a lot of attacks, and it was getting hot rolls. You were all getting bad rolls. So it kind of just was one of those times where like I assumed the luck would swing back the other way, and I think it would have been fine. And you did. You survived. Except for Zeb.
Didn't you have Edis from the Fortunes 5 shoot a magic missile and kill the mountain lion?
Did I? I had Edis kill it?
I have magic missile comes from nowhere and kills mountain lion. Edis from Fortunes 5.
But I think it was
Yep.
already done. I think you killed the hermit.
I think
and
that
the
was
monster.
probably
It was
more.
just- yeah.
I think we killed the vine, and you were like, "All right, let's
let's
move on."
end the
Zeb
exactly.
died, and we all need to mourn.
Yes, I also wanted a dramatic entrance for
Yeah,
the
that was
Fortunes
good.
5. Yeah. Which I kind of could have brought them back in. I kind of just forgot about them. That was me, really just me not bringing them back in. But okay, a couple more questions here from the chat, the live chat. We've got Spencer says, "Can you explain Xander's appearance in the dream?" Interesting. Okay. So yeah, obviously I tried to give some foreshadowing there. I had Xander fighting against the Gargant in the vision. Remember, there's a big Xander, like a towering, gargantuan-sized Xander. So that was symbolic of Nihilissa taking hold of him. He was trying to do right? He was fighting against the evil, but the evil overtook him, and that was symbolic of him going when he goes down in the dream, when he like gets that neck grab and he goes down. that was him, like kind of just being completely evil.
So-
And
When we first met him, had he already been overtaken by the evil?
he was, if not, he was right there. I didn't really think about it too much till that moment, but I knew that he was just like, there were whispers. He was like, you know, like if you heard your god, if you heard Hyperion speak to you, Barrack, you probably would just do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If you believed it
part.
was Hyperion. Now I know Hyperion is supposed to be symbolic of a man, and Melissa and Maeve are both women, but it doesn't matter. They could have altered her voice. She could have been speaking
Yeah,
to you.
I think at the beginning of the campaign he would have, and at the end he would have looked more to himself. but-
Okay.
I think that was the growth I felt.
Yeah. Good. I like that. Let's see here. How did Afton wind up with the Frog Brothers? That's another good question. So, again, the Frog Brothers were a creation of the Patreon Biggest Paladin. That was really cool to have them in there. I needed somebody who was going to be wrangling them up. So, my idea was to have another NPC, Afton, who was part of this incandescent cult. And he had befriended them, tried to convince them to come to the keep where it'd be safer, where they could hide themselves, hide their secret, because he had some weird funky powers, blood magic powers. So he was like their, you know, like almost as if Eric befriended them and then betrayed them, that sort of thing. He made him feel like he was one of them and then betrayed them because he's an evil SOB.
Yeah, what was Afton anyway?
So game mechanics wise, we want to reveal, we want to put
Well, I do, but Tim doesn't.
well,
I
Tim,
love the mystery.
cover your ears.
I love the mystery. And if I come back, I need to, like, you know,
That's
keep
true.
the mystery of the world.
That's true. You could cover your ears right now. Mute the laptop.
Hear us.
All right, so Afton was a whatchamacallit? Gosh, blood hunter. He was a blood hunter.
Okay.
A blood hunter. So
Cool.
we're good, Tim.
Thank you.
So do you want me to tell you about Xander too, or
I'm gonna go with some milk.
I will say, someone,
You get some
someone,
wholesome milk because you're a wholesome young man
That's it. That's me.
who looks good in everything he
that's
wears.
it. You got the most compliments on your appearance, Tim, out of anybody on the chat.
You know, it's really good for my self-esteem, which everyone that knows me is me really annoyed by because I don't need the self-esteem boost. But I'm flattered.
Let's see
I'm
here.
flattered.
A couple other questions. There are some more questions. I'm just toggling between questions in the chat. All right, so that was Spencer's question. Let's go to Greyhawk Exile. This is for Barrack. Is Barrack going to start his own order? He will miss your weekly sermons.
Me too, honestly. Can we start just a page in the Discord with a rousing speech from Barrack Helios?
you
we
can
can
give
all
everybody
use it.
a
Really.
little morning affirmation.
Start my
Right.
day off right.
Okay.
Friends.
You're good enough.
Tonight,
What was it?
we'll finally finish this thing.
Hang in there.
And, and people
I would.
like you.
I don't know if I necessarily. That's a great idea. I think, at least in the immediate aftermath, he's thinking, you know, what the epilogue said. You know, looking to do good with Caldo, Mohag, Hieronymus, and you know, kind of, yeah. So maybe that'll turn into growing his own order. I love that idea.
Okay, interesting. I hope that if and when we come back to this game, we'll have to make a lot of decisions about where exactly people are 3 months past the events. So we'll have to assess. Let's see. This is for Chris, I believe, Sail Dreamer. Chris, are you going to have withdrawals now that you don't have this campaign to look forward to?
So I've talked about this time and again, how this kind of is the highlight of my little world because, you know, I've got my job and I have my son half the time, and aside from that, you know, this is what I do, and I paint my miniatures. But yeah, honestly, this has been the best campaign I've ever played in. We've all got our childhood favorites and all those rose-colored glasses campaigns that we played in, but this is the best. This is the most fun I've had, and Bob is without a doubt the best DM I've ever played with.
Hey.
You're gonna leave it at that. Good night, everybody. No.
So yes, I'm gonna miss this one. I'm gonna miss Hyro.
Chris. Thank you.
Me
Well,
too.
I guess to the rest of you all, I mean, I think the answer is probably similar, right? We're gonna miss this game, right? We're gonna miss this party.
Oh no, we got Wednesdays off now. It's great. Freeze my calendar up.
I will certainly.
Definitely miss the
Of
characters.
course.
Definitely miss the friends. Like, it was a
Yeah.
fun puzzle to crack. Like, it was so different. It was so unique, and yeah.
Knowing me, I'll enjoy about 2 weeks of like Wednesday night freedom, and then by like the end of June, I'll be like, boy, it'd be really great right now. Some more D&D.
Yeah.
Something.
Sign up for like 5 campaigns I don't have time for. It'll be awesome.
I know that Nick and I are picking up on Tuesdays starting next week, everyone. So see you on the
Oh.
tabletop.
Yeah, actually, I didn't want to necessarily make an announcement about that just yet, but no, not in any sense. I just didn't want to like, this is gonna be something that's just gonna be keep on the Borderlands, and it's like, we don't need to promote the next thing, but might as well talk about it a little bit. There are some things coming up in the channel, and obviously,
Chill alert.
Yeah.
Alert.
yeah, you know what? Well, look, I hope I said this in the finale. I hope that a lot of you stick around for more hijinks here, because we've got a lot of stuff going on the channel. We're going to have a lot of more stories. I want to get more of the players that weren't in long form campaigns on something. Want to get you in like some of these little. I've been doing these little tests runs of different games. So we did Call of Cthulhu. We did the End of the World RPG. We did Shadow Dark. So we're going to be doing the Star Trek Adventures RPG starting next week. I'm going to be posting a Instagram, social media type post thing about it probably Friday. We're going to have session 0 on Tuesday. The John and Nate are going to be joining me for that. It's going to be this little prelude before we get to the next long campaign, which is Tomb of Horrors, and that was already announced, so we know that's happening. So you'll be seeing some more of the people here, and obviously Jeff and Tim will get you in some more stuff too, because want to get everybody involved. I want to get some people who were in the Wild Beyond the Witchlight, people who were in the Icewind Dale campaign. I want to mix and match, get some people in, and get some groups running on some games. And there's a lot. Like I said, I have a lot planned. I just, I'm looking at it all right here. It's like that episode of Always Sunny, the meme, where you can see all the strings connecting and doing it. That's what I feel like my plan is for the next year and a half. So I've got a lot of stuff coming down. So stick with us. Okay, so I think any more questions from you all? I look in the chat, see if there's anything left.
I'd be remiss to not ask for his own pleasure, their own pleasure. Mr. Blank.
Yeah, same.
Seven's question here. It said, was there ever a chance that Medusa would? Sorry, wow, my eyes are garbage. Would have been able to restore Sasori back from stone to flesh?
Oh.
We didn't
Yeah.
burn down the hut. We didn't do. Was that a chance that the Medusa would be able to do that?
Okay, so there is in the Medusa's hut a potion of change flesh to stone to flesh. There is. There's a vial of it. It's in the book. I was willing to give that to you if you found it, and then I realized you burned down the hut. I completely forgot. I actually legitimately forgot when we were talking about this. We were like, wait, you guys burned it down? I feel like there was a moment where I had I spaced out. I was like, you did burn down the hut, didn't you? So then I don't remember what I did. If I did it on stream, I might have done it on stream. I rolled like a percentile dice, or in my own prep time, I forget what it was, but I basically said it just wasn't there, or it was destroyed in the fire, something like that. I did. There was like some definite I had to go back and rewatch what you did to the Medusa hut.
Yeah. I want to go on the record as saying I wasn't in the stream the night that they burnt down the hut.
Oh, you weren't? Okay. There you go.
I wasn't a part of that
There you go.
vote.
I think Ned
I was
and Ruth's
hearing them
farm is the only wooden structure outside the keep we didn't burn down.
Probably.
Well, give us a chance.
Coalition,
I was
baby.
gonna say,
We didn't get that name by accident.
we stuck to it well.
Next time we're gonna play Wildfire Druids, so we're just gonna cut right to the chase.
Just also saying, I actually think Xander has the ability to cast the regeneration spell that you needed.
I thought he did too. Yeah, we never really got a chance to ask him. 'cause-
Right. Well, yeah. Well, things
He
happened.
turned out to be
Yeah.
a schmuck.
Things happened. But
Exactly.
it was possible. It was 100% possible. But I think, literally and figuratively, you burned down the bridges that you needed to to do that, and so it ended up not happening till the end.
A lot of the time, it felt like we had done the wrong thing. Like we would find out a little too late that no, that wasn't the right answer.
You know, there were a handful of moments in the game where I was like, didn't see that coming. Like, I didn't think you'd make that choice, but I was kind of prepared, or at least could think on my feet and be like, okay, so this is how it would go then if you did this. But that's honestly the best part about D&D is, like, I expect you guys to do X and you do Z. You know, it's like the way it is. It's just, it makes it interesting for me to see how it's going to play out, what you're going to do. So,
well,
I
that's
enjoyed
you
it
see
thoroughly.
that so often in DM advice, and you know whether it's Matt Colville or it's the old school guys or whatever, they say, you know, the game master doesn't create stories, the game master creates situations.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know.
tried to do. Create situations don't
and
always
the
have an
players
easy answer. Yeah.
create the story. Yeah, I mean, I've heard Matt Colville say more than once, it's like, I have no idea how they're going to solve this. I give them a problem, and what they do is as much a surprise to me as it is to them.
Well, I definitely developed my best character voice of all time after you killed me. So wait for a
God.
resurgence. I promise.
If your space character has this voice, I'm gonna lose it.
Oh, did I not mention? No, it's gonna be. So while everyone's here,
Ensign Karg.
no, it is not Karg, but it is. I am certainly playing a Betazoid with a Southern accent. So
And his name will be Grack.
I say, I can feel what you is thinking.
Oh, God.
Oh God!
Oh boy.
You guys have a great time on that one.
Yeah.
I am no longer jealous.
I've got plans. I've got plans though, Bob.
It's a slight workshop, but it's not far off from where I'm gonna land.
We'll work on it. We'll keep working on it. We'll keep working on it.
All right.
All right, so last things here, final thoughts, and I will be creating a DM's guide. I think I mentioned that at the end of the finale. I have a rough outline of what I want to talk about, and it won't be too many episodes, so I do feel like I will complete it. My goal is to do it this summer. That's my goal. This summer is to create a guide to running this. I'm not going to really like talk much more about like my game. Like I may have one episode where I kind of talk about some of the bigger changes that I made, but for the most part, I want to give other DMs an opportunity to think, like see a perspective of somebody who ran it, and I think fairly successfully. Just an inside look at what I did. So I'm going to be doing that this summer. I hope that everybody enjoys that, and even if you've played this game a million times, if you've ran Keep on the Borderlands before, maybe there'll be something there that you'll pick up and can use in your games. Any last thoughts from you all? Things before we sign off for tonight? I mean, this has been really great to kind of relive and talk, and I really am going to miss this game, but maybe someday we'll bring him back.
I'm gonna miss this group of people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't imagine, you know, not having this as part of my week. You know,
yeah.
Bob, you bastard.
Thanks, guys. It was a great journey. It really was.
But yeah, it's
It was-
into
it
something.
was
What is this feeling?
It's about family.
It's bad pretzels.
It's the light
Anonymous.
flowing through you, my friend.
Maybe the real adventure was the friends made along the way.
That's it.
Your heart grew 3 times, and it's still smaller than a normal heart.
It's a gnome heart. What do you expect?
Genital disease, sir. You need to go to a doctor.
I'm a halfling.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm
Okay.
dead. Who
So
am I?
there's a cryptic note from Chris from Long Island that has no verbs in it. Jeff, September 7th, Castle of Amber for the crew.
Well-
Am I being nominated or am I just being alerted to watch for it?
Chris from Long Island's been a big supporter since he came onto the channel. I would say,
Yes, I just that's not a complete sentence. So
Yeah, I know,
I'm interpreting it.
but now I've gotten to know so many people by their YouTube names. I feel like I know them. I've never met them, but I feel like I know them. Like a couple of the ones in here, like Greyhawk Exile, Chris from Long Island, for sure. Wayne, Wayne,
I've had some
Azeroth.
good conversations
Wayne,
on Discord with a handful of people that definitely worth knowing. I mean,
Totally.
Drop
Yeah.
in on the Discord, people, because there's interesting conversations going on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss the chat. The chat has always been a highlight to look back at.
It really has.
Be like, wait, what was everyone talking about? It's been really fun since pretty early on. So, all of you, the like 30 of everyone who's there consistently, like you have made this a lot more fun to do. And
Yeah.
we haven't said it before. Like I thank all of you because it's I don't know, it's been really fun, and you definitely are a part of it.
Thank you, and may the light be in all of you. It's from the guy upstairs.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
everybody. Yeah, so anyway, what you were saying about Chris from Long Island, he really wants us to play Castle Amber, obviously.
Okay. I know nothing about
He started the petition. He's been gung-ho on it. I would love to, at some point, run that game, but I don't know when. So we'll see. We'll see. I played that one before. It's wild. I don't know how it would fit into this game, so maybe not, but we'll see. We'll see.
Is that on the Chaos Crystal level of the Patreon?
The Chaos Crystal level. I should make one. Yeah, I should make the Chaos Crystal level. We'll see. But now we know that they're just actually the life essence of the Gargants, so that's a less catchy name. We'll go with Chaos Crystal. But anyway,
TM.
it's to come. All right, so we're going to sign off here, I think, right, everybody? I mean, we got our questions answered. If you want to still chat Keep on the Borderlands, please join us in Discord. I'll keep the Keep on the Borderlands chat active just for a few more weeks, just in case people have any last questions. I know some people have posted, like, on the more recent episodes that they're finishing it, catching up, that sort of thing, so we'll leave it open. Eventually, even when we retire the conversation, you can still post questions in the general chat. But I think we did a good job debriefing here. And thank you again, everybody, for watching and being a part of this journey with us. Thank you to the players, because you guys were awesome. You brought it every week, and I couldn't have done it without you. And really, thank you for donating all of your time and effort, because this was truly a Herculean effort to keep this going. Most D&D games, as we know, they don't end up ending. So it was fantastic to have such a dedicated group.
Well, I think we're all thinking it, Bob. But Bob, thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This was amazing.
If I had a hat, I'd take my hat off to you. There you go. Well, everybody, thank you
It was a
from the
blast.
bottom of our hearts. We will see you very soon on the tabletop. Have a great night.
Can't wait.
Good night, everyone.
Whatever. It wasn't fun.